The quiet giant. On a quiet block in the south side of Chicago, where cracked pavement met cold winters, a boy named Anthony Davis lived in near anonymity. He wasn't born into basketball royalty. His family wasn't rich. There were no personal trainers or elite academies, only a loving household, a public school gym, and a hoop nailed to a weathered garage. Anthony was awkwardly tall before he knew what to do with it. In middle school, he barely stood out. Coaches overlooked him. Scouts never came. He wasn't dominant, flashy, or loud. He was invisible. But there was a restlessness in him, a deep itch under the surface, something that couldn't be measured in stats or vertical leaps. While others played for attention, Anthony played for something quieter, harder to name. Maybe it was pride. Maybe it was escape. He spent hours alone in the gym after school. His jump shot was broken, his dribble unpolished. But he kept returning, kept repeating the same moves, again and again, until the ball felt like an extension of his hands. His father, Anthony Sr., stood silently in the doorway most evenings, watching his son with a kind of quiet admiration, the kind that knew hardship, sacrifice, and long roads. Then something happened. He grew. In one summer, Anthony shot up 7 inches. The transformation was jarring. His body struggled to catch up. Suddenly, the overlooked guard was towering over teammates and opponents alike. He had the height of a center but the footwork of a guard. It was as if nature had pressed fast forward on his body but pause on everything else. Doubt followed. He questioned if his body would ever feel like his again. Joints ached. Movement became clumsy. The very thing that made him different now made him uncertain. But Anthony kept working. By the time he reached his senior year at Perspective's charter school, things started to change. Whispers turned to shouts. Scouts who once ignored him now filled the bleachers. Offers from top colleges piled in. Coaches who had never bothered to learn his name now spoke it with urgency. Still, he remained quiet. He wasn't interested in hype or highlight reels. His eyes stayed on the bigger picture. His family, his future, and the game that had given him something to belong to. Kentucky called, and he answered, not with words but with work. The journey had shifted from survival to ascension. But something deeper loomed beneath the rise, an inner conflict that hadn't yet surfaced. Could a soft-spoken kid from a forgotten corner of Chicago carry the weight of greatness? That question would follow him. And soon, the world would ask it too. The weight of a rival. The NBA didn't wait for anyone. When Anthony Davis was drafted first overall by the New Orleans Hornets in 2012, he stepped into a league that devoured promise and demanded results. He was no longer the quiet kid from Chicago or the college phenom from Kentucky. He was now the future, a label both flattering and suffocating. The city of New Orleans was rebuilding, not just its team, but its identity. And into that storm walked Anthony, barely 20, shoulders still filling out, eyes still adjusting to the spotlight. He was expected to be the franchise savior, the cornerstone of a dynasty yet to exist. Cameras followed. Commentators speculated. Fans hoped. But pressure doesn't show itself all at once. It seeps in slowly. Every missed shot was magnified. Every injury felt like betrayal, by his body, by fate. The NBA game was faster, heavier. Veteran centers tested him physically. Seasoned guards exploited him mentally. His first ankle sprain came early, and it wouldn't be the last. Rehabilitation became routine. Yet he never complained. On the court, he evolved. He blocked shots with a calm fury, pulled rebounds out of the air like they belonged to him. He developed a soft mid-range jumper, a keen defensive instinct, and a silent dominance that confused critics. He wasn't showy. He wasn't loud. But he was effective. And still, something lingered. New Orleans, for all its charm, was a city of false starts in basketball. Coaches changed. Teammates rotated. Seasons ended in frustration. Davis kept showing up, putting up all-star numbers, earning praise, but playoff success remained a distant dream. The deeper conflict was no longer about talent. It was about legacy versus loyalty. He had given the franchise everything. But how long should greatness be patient? Behind closed doors, his agent whispered. Analysts hinted. Fans debated. Should he stay and build, or leave and chase rings? The league was evolving and so were its stars. The era of waiting had ended. Anthony, ever composed, remained silent publicly. But the whispers grew. When the trade request came in 2019, it shocked few. Still, it changed everything. Some fans turned. The media pounced. A once-loved figure was now seen by some as a villain, a traitor to the idea of loyalty. But to Anthony, it wasn't betrayal, it was survival. He had spent 7 years giving his best to a system that couldn't return the favor. He wasn't chasing fame. He was chasing meaning, and he could no longer find it where he was. By the end of that final season in New Orleans, one truth had solidified. Talent, no matter how extraordinary, could not thrive alone. And so, with a battered heart but unshaken resolve, Anthony Davis left the only NBA home he had ever known. Ahead of him waited Los Angeles. Bright lights, heavier expectations, and the one chance he'd never had before. A shot at destiny. The crown and the cost. Los Angeles was not a place for the timid. When Anthony Davis arrived in 2019, the Lakers were a sleeping giant, bruised by years of dysfunction and unmet expectations. But now, paired with LeBron James, the most polarizing and decorated star of his generation, Davis was no longer just a centerpiece. He was part of an empire in reconstruction. From day one, the stakes were unmistakable. This wasn't about growth anymore. This was about results. Davis walked into the season with a mission and a microscope on his back. Every possession, every post-game quote, every limp or missed game sparked headlines. Could he stay healthy? Could he handle the pressure? Could he deliver when it mattered most? He didn't talk much. He let his game speak, loudly. Davis was everywhere, swatting shots into silence, gliding across the floor like a dancer in battle, draining clutch jumpers with clinical precision. On defense, he was suffocating. On offense, he was fluid. Together, he and LeBron formed a devastating symmetry, one powered by IQ, unselfishness, and hunger. But even in success, pain lingered. The 2019 to 2020 season wasn't just any season. It was shadowed by tragedy. Kobe Bryant's death shook the Lakers, the league, and the world. Davis, who had admired Kobe from afar, now wore the weight of legacy on his shoulders. Every Laker game became a tribute. Every win, a silent nod to the legend they lost. Then came the pandemic. The league shut down. The world froze. When basketball returned, it was inside the sterile bubble of Orlando, a surreal stage, stripped of fans but heavy with meaning. And in that bubble, Anthony Davis delivered. Game after game, he was relentless. His buzzer-beating three against Denver in the Western Conference Finals became an instant classic. In the finals, he anchored both ends of the floor, combining elegance with brutality. The Lakers won the championship, and Davis, once labeled injury-prone and too passive, was now a champion. But the crown came with a cost. In the seasons that followed, injuries returned like unwelcome ghosts. The same body that once elevated him now betrayed him in fragments. Hamstrings, groins, knees. Each fall was met with held breath, each absence with doubt. The question returned, sharper than ever: could greatness endure if it could not stay standing? Yet Davis never disappeared. Every time he was doubted, he returned. Every time he was sidelined, he healed. His journey was no longer about proving his talent. It was about proving his durability, both physically and emotionally. He had tasted glory, but now the challenge was holding on to it. The lights of Los Angeles never dim. The expectations never lower. And for Anthony Davis, the next chapter wasn't about chasing another ring. It was about rewriting the perception of who he truly was. Not just a star beside a king, but a king in his own right. Legacy in the shadows. Time has a way of distorting memory. For some, Anthony Davis will always be the injured star, the glass giant who couldn't stay on the court long enough to dominate. For others, he'll be the number 2, the supporting cast to LeBron's Hollywood epic. But beneath those narratives lies something more enduring, something less visible but more true. Resilience. Davis never asked for the spotlight, but he learned to live within it. The body that once betrayed him became a battlefield he refused to surrender. Night after night, he fought for rhythm, for relevance, for redemption, not because the world demanded it, but because he demanded it of himself. The newer generation of fans might forget how he carried the Lakers on nights when LeBron rested, how he dominated both ends with surgical precision, or how, even when doubted, he never chased applause, only impact. And that, perhaps, is his truest legacy. Off the court, Davis remained the same soft-spoken figure from the South Side. He never sought controversy. Fame never inflated him. He used his platform to give back, to Chicago, to underprivileged kids, to communities that rarely see heroes return. While others built brands, he built trust. Quietly, consistently. But the NBA is cruel to memory. It rewards moments, not endurance. The league moved on to new stars. New hype. Davis, now in his 30s, carried the